Alrighty, beautiful and strong people, welcome back to the Bench Press Mastery. Today we're going to talk about the press. It's going to be the last lesson of the mastery. So pretty much everything that we've been going through, and we're going to go through a recap. We learned the setup and how to properly set up for maximum force production. We learned the leg drive and how the leg drive is actually influencing your setup and it's actually reinforcing your setup. We learned about the wedge and how we're actually connecting with the bar together with the grip and how the grip is actually influencing the bar path. We learned about the arm rack and how to efficiently use the arm rack to actually reinforce our setup. We also learned about the touch point and how the touch point is being influenced by your grip and your position of your body. And now, if all of those have been addressed, the pressing part is the easy part. This is why I said if you make the setup as uncomfortable as possible, the pressing motion is the easy part of the bench press. So once you're actually nailing those down, the press will just come intuitively and you do not need to overthink it. But of course, we're going to go through a couple of things to actually take under consideration. Okay, so why the press matters? Well, it transfers all the tension that we actually build into vertical force against the barbell. A good pressing mechanic will prevent the sticking points. So if you are stable, your shoulders are stable, your touch point is on point. See what I did there? The driving of force will be precise and any kind of sticking point will actually diminish. You're still going to have some sticking points, but the more precise the setup, the more precise the press. Pressing is more than just brute force, it's timing and position. So if you're positioned properly and you're actually timing your stroke, you're timing your press, that bar will absolutely fly off your chest. And that's exactly what we want to achieve for maximal force production. So a couple of pressing mechanics. Leg drive initiates the upward force. So if your legs are soft, your setup is going to fall, you're not going to have as much stability, you're not going to be able to actually express that force production against the bar. The chest needs to stay high, wedge remains locked in. Okay, so we still need to make sure that we have that lat engagement. We want to make sure that we're not getting any kind of slack between ourselves and the bar. We want a solid grip so we can actually point that upward force, point that force production against the bar. The elbows stacked to the bar. At the bottom, the elbows can be just a little bit in front of the bar because the bar path will not be straight, and I do not advise you to actually press in a straight line, but rather in a curved line. Okay, so you can see from the touch point to where the bar is actually finished, it's in a curve, and based on your anthropometrics, based on your arm length, based on how much mobility you actually have and how much you can arch, is going to dictate how steep this curve is going to be. But pretty much that's how you want to imagine the press. You want to imagine the press from your chest, or from the lower chest to the sternum to the upper part of your abs towards the shoulder. And pretty much the descent can be closely the same, but we want to press in a curve and not in a straight vertical line. So when we are pressing, we want to make sure that we're thinking about pressing ourselves back into the bench, but that's not really going to be enough. Okay, because if you're focusing way too much on what you're doing with the shoulder, you're going to tend to actually use your shoulder into the movement, and you may potentially end up protracting your shoulder in front. So as you're going through the pressing motion, I want you to think about squeezing your triceps to actually finish off the movement. You're going to notice on this particular video, as I'm actually using the lats to press back, you're going to notice how at some point the shoulder position doesn't change at all, and the only position is pretty much the elbows start to actually lock while I'm squeezing my triceps. And that's where the movement is actually ending. Okay, so towards the lockout, you want to think about squeezing your triceps so you do not end up protracting your shoulders forward. You want to avoid drifting the bar backwards. Okay, so you want to finish over your shoulders, not your face. If you're pressing towards your face, you're most probably protracting your shoulders. You want to avoid that. A couple of cues that are going to be very helpful. Drive yourself into the bench. That's something that we actually discussed on the wedging module. Squeeze and push. Don't coast. Push back, not just up. Press the bar away from your chest. Okay, so every mechanic you want to think about pushing yourself away, locking your elbows. Pushing yourself away, locking your elbows. Pushing yourself away, locking your elbows, and you're finishing the movement. A couple of common mistakes. Pressing straight up is not the best option you have. Letting the elbows flare early, so make sure that you're actually going in a controlled descent. Squeeze the pinky so your humerus is actually being guided. Losing the wedge and leg drive midway, so you want to stay as rooted as possible and not maintaining the bar path focus. So that concludes the bench press mastery. Now you mastered the bench press. We learned how to properly set up in the bench for maximal force production, so pretty much the positional standpoint. We learned how the leg drive is actually reinforcing that. We learned the wedge and how we're actually connecting us to the bar. We learned how to unrack properly, so we're actually reinforcing the setup. We learned how to properly grip for maximal force production. We learned where that touch point is, where the sweet spot for the touch point is, and how it is influenced by the grip and the position of your body. And now you learn how to properly press. If you guys have any questions in regards to the bench press mastery, shoot me a message and I'm going to clarify it. See you on the next couple of modules. Have a good one.